This week, you join me aboard the mother of all hot hatches, the recently updated Honda Civic Type-R. The manufacturer calls this a facelift, but the changes it's made to the car aren't that significant, to be honest. It gets a new grille that has a 13% larger opening, which lets in more air in order to cool the engine, especially during intense track driving. And in order to make the opening larger, Honda has made the Honda logo with the red background smaller. The front and rear bumpers are also slightly different. For the front, it ditches the honeycomb plastic structure and just has blank plastic in place of it. And it also gains a couple of winglet details that you can also see on the back. The front brake rotors are also new, and they are two-piece units, and they apparently save up to 2 kilograms per corner for each of the front wheels. And since that's unsprung weight, it improves handling. The adaptive dampers have also been revised as part of this update. Not the dampers themselves, but the electronic brain that controls them. They apparently can react 10 times faster than before. Changes inside are minimal, but they make the car better. Honda has given us physical buttons instead of the touch-sensitive slider things that the previous version of the car used to have. The infotainment is not Honda's latest though. I got to experience that in the new Honda Jazz that I drove a couple of weeks ago. The one this car has is the same it was launched with, and while the physical buttons certainly improve the experience, it is quite dated, to be honest. And not just compared to other competing manufacturers' infotainments, but compared to Honda's own newer version of the infotainment. As part of the update, the steering wheel is also wrapped in grippy Alcantara, which has the same problem that all Alcantara wrapped steering wheels have. It wears rather quickly. This car has done just under 10,000 kilometers, and this steering wheel is really showing signs of wear. If you're going to buy this car, I would advise you to get some nice driving gloves to protect the steering wheel. And you'll definitely be needing driving gloves, because if you drive this car quickly on a twisty road, you might get sweaty palms, because it's super intense. It's borderline scary if you really push it. Honda hasn't made any changes to the engine. It's still the same 2-liter turbo with VTEC on the exhaust side. It makes 316 horsepower in Europe, or 306 horsepower for the US version. And for both, it is delivered at 6,500 RPM. Its peak torque of 400 Newton meters is delivered between 2,500 and 4,500 RPM. And it really gives the car a very muscular feel. Honda says it can sprint to 100 kilometers per hour from standstill in 5.7 seconds. However, launching it is rather difficult, because with all that power going to the front wheels only, they tend to lose grip quite easily. And with the traction control on, you'll see the light flashing frantically when you try to apply all the power in first and second gear, sometimes even third. So in order to make this car as fast as it possibly can be, you need to modulate your throttle application. The car rides on 20-inch wheels, which should make it feel uncomfortable, but they don't. The previous generation of Honda Civic Type-R, the FK8, had a bit of a problem. It was either too relaxed in its normal mode, or a bit too frantic and bouncy in the +R mode. For this car, Honda has added an in-between mode, simply known as Sport mode. And that's the mode in which the car starts. It doesn't start in comfort. And it's a great compromise. It does stiffen up the dampers a little bit, but they aren't as stiff as in +R mode. Another new feature that this car gets over its predecessor is augmented engine sound being played through the speakers. It's definitely not an intrusive sound, but it is noticeable if you have driven the previous version of this car. I honestly wouldn't have done it on a Honda Civic Type-R. It doesn't quite match the car's character, but it's certainly not intrusive. What Honda should have done maybe was make the exhaust sound better. I think this car as a hot hatch is perfect. I think a hot hatch should be front wheel drive. It should have this much power and this much grip and feel like this. But the only area where, for me, the Civic Type-R is lacking is in the noise department. There is plenty of it, but it's not very pleasant. Even with the new trio of exhausts in the back, it's better than the FK2, but other manufacturers do it better. They don't do a better hot hatch because I think this is the top of the pile by miles, but when it comes to exhaust notes and engine sounds, they are better than Honda, I'm sorry to say. So what does this car do so well? Firstly, it's the way it makes you feel. The driving position is perfect. The seat is perfect. I don't know how Honda does it, because if you touch it, it's soft, yet it's remarkably supportive. The steering wheel, you can pull it close enough to you to get a perfect driving position. Shifter feel is second to none. And this is an area where Honda pays special attention, maybe more so than other manufacturers. Because in its press blurb for the updated Civic Type-R, it mentions a new weighted gear knob that is better than the weighted gear knob that came before it. It is said to enhance precision even more. And it is so good. It's so good. It puts any other shifter in any other car to shame. Maybe Mazda comes close, but Honda still takes the cake, I think. And when you take this car on a twisty road and really rag it to within an inch of its life, it laughs in your face and it begs you to try harder. Which you will, and it will keep taking it, and it will not feel strained. You will be the one feeling strained. In fact, yesterday, after we finished filming on a twisty bit of road, I felt like I had run a couple of marathons without food or water. This car really gives you a beating if you drive it hard. But it is also super rewarding to drive quickly. Maybe more so than any of its rivals. You can really tell the Japanese are really into their mountain roads, because this is where this car excels. Thanks to its combination of a super stiff suspension, immense levels of grip, and a remarkably responsive engine, this car is a bit of a weapon on a mountain road like this one. You can just attack bends at speeds you don't think it's capable of taking, but it is. It just keeps on gripping. This is where you should enjoy a car like this. If it also had the exhaust note of the i30N, this car would have been perfect. I also like the rev matching feature that Honda has introduced in this car. It works really well and makes downshifts smooth, even if you're an amateur. And from the outside, you will look like a pro. And this is a good feature to have because the pedals aren't perfectly set up for heel and towing. I think the brake and the accelerator are a bit too far apart. You can still do it if you have big feet. I think the Honda Civic Type-R is a truly amazing, historic car. And it's definitely a future classic. Especially since there are rumors that the next Civic is going to be a four-wheel drive hybrid with the electric motor driving the rear wheels. So this is probably the last of its kind. A powerful front-wheel drive car with a 2-liter engine, a limited slip differential, a 6-speed manual, and handling and grip and steering and power to die for. It's an amazing car. I will definitely think about it very fondly after I return it. And mark my words, this is going to be a future classic. And it's going to hold its value very well. It's already happening with the FK2, which is quite expensive even though it's a few years old.